Welcome to Pick Money Podcast. Got my friend Charles Rosa with me. How you doing, Charles?
Great, man. Just got out of the gym, finished training, getting ready for my big fight November 15th.
Now tell them what this one is.
It's Game Bread, George Masvidal's promotion, bare-knuckle MMA. So same rules as UFC without the gloves.
Have you ever done that before? Like in a sanctioned event?
Not a sanctioned event.
I know you fought plenty of people bare-knuckle.
I've had a couple street fights.
Correct. But in the ring,
never.
So what's the biggest difference? Bare knuckles.
I think obviously the damage of the punches is going to be a lot more, but in the same breath, the damage you're going to take with your hand is a lot more. You know, the padding on the glove protects the hand. That's the main reason too. You know what I'm saying? Half of it is to protect the opponent's face so the fights last longer, but the other half of it is so you don't break your hands. Otherwise, if they did bare knuckles since day one, fighters would only have like 3 or 4 fights in their career before their hands.
So there's a good chance somebody's going to break a hand that night.
100%.
100%.
100%.
Somebody's going to bust a hand.
Yeah. On the other end, though, if you're a grappler, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, gloves typically get in the way of when you're locking your grips and your grips. So without the gloves, you can get better grips, like 10-finger grips, and you get better holds. So strokes will be tighter.
I want to ask you about that. But like, if you don't know Charles is a UFC. How many UFC fights you have?
14.
14 UFC fights. Your first one, you were how old?
28.
Dana White calls you up.
Yep.
Right? You had not had a UFC fight before.
No.
You're training, working your ass off. 28 years old, he calls you and tells you you got to be where and in how long.
That's one of the great stories of my career is I was 9-0, undefeated professional fighter, not all first-round finishes. So I knew I was ready. The call was supposed to be coming. They were telling me when I was 6-0, the call's going to come. Get a call from Dana White.
So it's Dana White himself?
Yep.
Ever talked to him before that?
Never talked to him before that. No, not on person.
So what did he say when he got you on the phone?
He said 5 days notice. Dennis Siver, number 8 guy in the world. We need you to fight the European champion, Dennis Siver. 5 days notice. The answer was immediately yes. Hung up the phone. That's it. And I think about it. I'm like, yo, I weigh 178 pounds right now, and this fight's at 145. I mean, it didn't matter.
5 days, 33 pounds.
Stockholm, Sweden. I was
in Sweden.
States. Yep. Flight across the country, cut 33 pounds, and within the 5 days, made the weight. Fought the number 8 guy in the world, Dennis Siver, who next fight ended up fighting Conor McGregor. He was the European champion, probably one of the greatest European fighters ever. Fought him in his hometown, in his home arena. And he was just coming off of he just tested positive for steroids. He tested positive after the fight for steroids too.
At least he's consistent.
Nah, he was a beast, bro. He's like a German brick shithouse, bro. Like, he was a beast. And yeah, man, I went in there. I got fight of the night bonus. It was
So you went the distance.
Yeah.
How many rounds?
3 rounds.
3 rounds. Yeah. Nobody done. Nobody taps out.
No.
Nobody.
No.
So was there a moment where you thought you had the fight? A moment you thought you lost the fight? Like
the second the fight started, it was my welcome to the UFC moment, they call it. I went out there, and I get goosebumps thinking about it, but I went out there, man, and I remember, like, I watched this guy fight, so, like, it was like, imagine if you're an NFL player and you watch, like, Tom Brady, and you're going against Tom Brady, like, man, this guy's, like, one of the greats, like, this guy's, everyone knew who he was at the time. I was in his hometown, but I went out, and something we practiced, and I saw in the film that he dipped his head a lot. So we practiced for 3 days. 3 days I got to train for the fight.
Yeah, the massive 3 days.
Was a straight left to a head kick because he would dip his head. He would slip the punch, and then the head kick would be behind it. First thing I threw the hardest shot, hardest head kick behind, boom, connected, dead on. If I landed this shot on anybody else on the planet, I swear to God, the guy's knocked out. I thought I won. He boom, like the Terminator, eats the shot, and I was like, this is the difference. Like, this is the difference of being in the UFC and fighting the toughest guy on the planet Earth compared to the guys, there's levels to it. And, man, I scrapped it out with him. It was Fight of the Year in 2000.
What did he say to you after the fight?
Oh, man, he loved me. His coaches told me I was going to be the next UFC champion. He spoke German, so he didn't speak much English.
Yeah.
But he hit me with a pretty good spinning back kick to the body. Pretty cool clip I got. So I asked him after the fight if he could teach it to me. And, man, I haven't really seen him and heard much from him since, but he was a good sport. And he, thanked me for taking the fight. He said I was a warrior. Like, the one English word he got out was "you're a warrior" in English, and told me he respected me, especially for taking the fight. I mean, he had more UFC fights at the time, over 20, than I had fights in my career.
So here's what people don't understand. So what'd you get paid for that fight?
Well, I was only supposed to get $10,000.
Forget about but outside of the fight of the so you would have gotten $10,000.
$10,000 to lose the fight.
Lose the fight,
by split decision, yeah.
Correct. Okay. Then what'd you end up making because it was fight of the year?
$50,000.
Okay,
additional.
so
Yeah,
60 grand, you pay taxes on 60 G's.
Yeah, European taxes are different, but yeah.
Yeah. Now, you didn't get into this for money,
No.
obviously.
No.
Right? And people will say, I've heard a lot of people say to me, and I want your opinion on this because you live it. They say to me, man, well, Dana White makes all this money and the company makes all this money and the fighters only get this percentage.
Yep.
I don't have much of an opinion on that because, like, I'm not a UFC fighter.
Yeah.
I'm not Dana White. I'm a UFC fighter. I know how I run my businesses, and I know what people I think they deserve.
Yes.
What's your take on that as a UFC fighter?
Of course, I think the fighters should get more money. Like, if you look at the NFL, the NHL, the revenue split is 50-50, basically. In the UFC, it's 90-10. You know what I'm saying? The UFC's taken 90% of the money. They've made billions of dollars off of it. So, yeah, like, initially, I'm like, man, this is a nightmare. But when I look at the other end of it, I look at where the sport was when I started. When I came into the UFC, nobody knew what the UFC was. I was like, I'm a fighter. They're like, what? Are you a boxer? Are you you do karate? I'm like, a wrestler? I'm like, is it real? And I'm like, no, I fight in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Yeah. They didn't know what it was. But you fast forward, that was 10 years ago. I've been fought in the UFC for 10 years. Now you fast forward, there isn't one person that doesn't know what the UFC is. Everybody knows what it is. Every kid knows what it is. I'm in the video game. Like, it's like, little kids are playing the video game and sending me videos of playing with me in the game. There's two ways I look at it. Do I feel like I'm underpaid? I have, it's hard. I can't even, go buy a house. Like, I fought 10 years as a professional athlete and sold out arenas around the world, pay-per-view cards, Fox Sports, Spike TV, ESPN just recently, the last 5 years has been on ESPN, the biggest platforms in the planet where they're showing the highlight videos, all throughout, Sports Center, top 10 moment, boom, me hitting a guy, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And, definitely feel like it's been underpaid. But on the other side of it, I look at the platform they gave me. They gave me such a platform to be able to propel myself and help people and be somebody in the world, you know what I'm saying? So that's the way I look at it. Like, I'm not a greedy person. Like I said, I didn't get into this for money. I got into it because I loved it. I had opportunities to be chefs at major hotels and be making over six figures, being a chef, doing what my other hobby is. I went to culinary school to be a chef. I feel like I could have made a great career and a great living off that. But, that's one of my passions, but it's not what I love. I love fighting. So that's what I do. I, took, a pay cut over my lifetime, but I get to do what I love and I get to inspire people. And
you're still doing it.
Yeah, still at it.
You'd be the wrong guy. Imagine he's working in a restaurant and you're like, yo, I hate my food.
It's happening.
And they go back and they fucking see Charles. How much you weigh?
Now about 180. Yeah.
180. And when you look at him, you're like, he's 108 pounds. He comes out and whacks the shit out of you after he gave you
a couple of dishwashers have talked, and the waiters, in restaurants, it's a normal thing that the waiters and those chefs back talk each other. Like, yo, man, where's the, you thought to put avocado on the salad? I'm like, yo, bro,
slow down. Slow down before I make you tap out.
You talk. You can respect. You can say things with certain respect, or go back and we'll figure it out. But no, it's
so your deal is, I think there should be more of a revenue split in the UFC, 100%. but it's given a number of people, including yourself, a platform. Yeah. But I can see it. It can be disheartening where I worked 10 years. Yeah. Can't go buy a house. Yeah. Like, I can't put a down payment on it.
You have a family, kid. You have a girlfriend,
Correct. Want to get married, have some children.
Yeah, baby on the way. And
Wait, you have a baby on the way?
I have a baby
Congratulations.
on the way.
I did not know that, dude. You didn't tell me, man.
I just saw this onogram last week. So
really?
I'm really excited about it.
How far along?
12 weeks. So
good for you,
I don't know
dude.
if it's a boy or girl yet, but we'll be having that.
Do you want to know what it is?
What?
Dude, I'm stupid good at this.
You're gonna tell me now.
I'm just telling you, I'm not good. If it was gambling on the sex of your baby, I'd be really good at it.
Yeah.
Do you want to know what it is?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, it's a girl.
Okay.
I'm just telling you, it's a girl. Right. Just you're good either way. Happy kid, healthy kid, you're good.
That's all I care about.
That's all you care about. But I'm just saying, it will be happy for you, man. Yeah. Congratulations, dude. Yeah. So here's what I want to, you made a comment to me, and it's funny because we have so many people that get on here. And they're I try to provide them perspective. And when I hear you talk, or anybody where I can pull perspective, I pull it, right? Where I'm like, okay, man, that's really good perspective for me. Because I think about what is the hardest thing on a daily basis as an entrepreneur? Well, you could fail at something, you could lose some money. And in your business, dude, you can get disabled or get killed. I mean, you can get really fucked up, right?
Well, we're aware of that, yeah.
And you said to me, one day I said, man, what's the difference between all these other MMA deals and the UFC? And I said, are they that much more talented? And what you said to me was, of course, they're the best of the best in the world. I get it. He's like, but it's different. Like when you go to the UFC, you don't see guys tapping and quitting the way you like. You just they're just a different mindset.
Yep.
You fought. Now you're fighting bare knuckles in Mississippi. You still love what you do.
Yeah.
I was at your event last week in Foxwoods, and you know this guy thought he had you. I think he thought you were going to submit. What did he put you in? What was it?
He put me in a head and arm choke.
Head and arm choke, and the guy next to me was like, he's done. I was like, dude, I'll bet you anything he's not done, because there's no way he's tapping out. Explain that, because I think that intestinal fortitude and that desire to be great, the sad thing is a lot of people, they're not risking all the stuff you're risking.
Yeah.
How did you develop that mental toughness that I'm gonna, dude, I ain't gonna quit.
Yep.
I'm never gonna quit. I don't give a shit if I gotta fly to Sweden in 5 days, drop 33 pounds. I don't give a shit who I'm fighting. Doesn't matter to me. I don't care if I whack him and I go like, holy shit, he's still standing. It doesn't matter to me. Yep. Or he spins, kicks me, smokes me. How did you develop that in yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think it started from childhood for sure. I mean, I have a pretty interesting, story. I mean, I lost my two older brothers to drug overdoses. So when I was 16, the following year, when I was 17, I dealt with that mentally. But even go way further back when I was a little kid, playing hockey and stuff like that. Like one thing my dad would always tell me is never to quit and give 100% effort. And he didn't care if I got straight A's in school, but he cared if it said, comment, lack of effort or something. That would be more of a problem than doing bad and getting a bad grade. As long as he said I was trying, doing the best I could possibly do, then everything was always good. And, I was always kind of raised with that, just never give up, never quit. And it really was instilled with me at a young age, and it's something that I believe in. And one thing that I learned, the best thing I think I learned from fighting and making it to the UFC and is making it as far as I did when I helped some other people. My little brother is the number one, prospect in the world right now. He's 10 years younger than me, Charles Rosa. But something that I try to help with these guys with is that I never I always wanted to, let me think how I can word this. I learned from fighting that if I never give up and I keep working hard, I can do anything. If I can make it in fighting, if I can make it in the UFC, I can make it anywhere.
Correct.
So if the UFC thing doesn't work out, if the fighting thing doesn't work out and I got as far as I did, you can throw me in the middle of anywhere and I'm coming out alive and I'm coming out on top and I'm coming out, I'm coming out with, what I'm saying? And that's one thing is that if I can make it as far as I did doing this, then I think that if I dedicated as much time to doing this and doing what I love as much as I did, I could do anything. If I really believe that if you put enough time into something and you love it enough and you believe in it, then you can do it. And I'm a firm believer in that because I'm living proof of it. I did it. I came down to South Florida with nothing. I had a bicycle for 3 years, working in a restaurant, scrubbing dishes, started out, then to chopping onions, then to making salads, then to getting on the saute line, then to being able to, kind of work my way through the business and check out different restaurants and then build a menu. So built my way up in the restaurant, and I did the same thing in fighting. I started out fighting in gymnasiums with 25 people there in high school gymnasiums, to then fighting on local shows at Memorial Auditoriums in Fort Lauderdale, to then fighting at the Hard Rock, to then fighting in Las Vegas at the, MGM sold out arenas, and then fighting, all over the planet. So
when you're fighting, what's the biggest arena? What's the biggest lot in person audience you fought in front of?
I would say Mexico City, 45,000
so
people.
45,000 people.
So I fought Rodriguez. Yeah.
And how many people are watching this shit?
Millions.
Millions.
Pay-per-view. It was the heavyweight championship of the world that night. Verdum versus Cain Velasquez. Versus Fabricio Verdum, heavyweight championship of the world. I was 2 fights before that, and I fought on pay-per-view against the Ultimate Fighter champion of Mexico, Rodriguez, who later became the UFC champion. I whooped his ass that night, beat the shit out of him, won the fight, and they robbed me split decision.
In Mexico.
Mexican judges, yeah. Dude, there was, I was getting, it was, it's the crowd, you know what I'm saying? The crowd plays a big part of it. I mean, even Joe Rogan, he thought I won. He told me after the fight it was pretty cool, but you know, to go on and see that kid later go win the world championship was tough to watch. But I just don't quit, and that's what it is. It's something that I'm a firm believer. If you never give up, you always still have a chance. Like fighters, that's kind of like the thing about fighters is you see like the Rocky movies, you get knocked down, but you never really lose if you get back up. If you keep betting back up, you never quit, and you're always still standing and you're still in the fight.
So when you're out in front of that many people, 50,000 in person, do you hear the crowd? Once the fight starts, do you hear that shit? Do you You do?
Well, I'll tell you a cool story just to answer the question. The answer is yes. I feed off the energy 100%.
So you can hear it. Roars,
I
the crowd.
believe in home court advantage. I mean, I'm undefeated. I have the most all-time wins at the Boston Garden, where the Boston Celtics and the Boston Bruins play. See all the things.
Would anybody have beaten you at the Boston Garden in your prime?
No one ever has. No one still will. I mean, I have the most
How old are
all-time
you?
wins. I'm 38.
He'll still fight.
Yeah.
He don't give a shit.
Dude, I have the most all-time wins in Boston. I'm the number one, ranked fighter in New England in the world right now. So, I mean, I'm the best, to come from there. I've beaten all the best of the best. All the best guys that came from there, I've fought them and I beat them. And I beat them in Boston at the Garden in front of everybody. So, and the guy that I'm upcoming fight for this Game Bred fight, he's the number 2 guy in New England. So they're putting us against each other.
You're both in New England.
Yeah, he fought in the UFC. He had a UFC career. Pete Barrett is the kid I'm fighting. He had a UFC career. He made it to the big show, but he didn't do too well. But now he's fighting me and Game Bred, and we get to get it on. It's gonna be awesome.
You know him at all?
I think I've seen him in passing a few times. He trained with my cousin Lewis back in the day, so I've seen him in passing. Like I never trained with him or anything like that, but I mean, he's in over his head, so I'm excited.
You don't even know it. He's gonna get smoked.
I think he does know it, but he's
trying
to talk some shit online.
He's trying to talk some shit to you?
Yeah, he knows.
About the fight?
Yeah, he's saying.
What's his name again?
Pete Barrett.
Does Pete have any shot to beat you?
I mean, everybody has a shot. Anybody with a heartbeat has a shot.
Is he in over his head?
He's in over his head.
Does he not know it?
No, he doesn't know it.
Does he know how much of a badass you are?
Oh, he definitely respects me. There's no doubt about it. I mean, like I said, I have...
So what did he say online about the fight?
Huh?
What did he say online about the fight?
He's just talking shit, saying that he's the king of Boston, that'll whoop my ass and all this stuff. And I'm like, bro, like...
He's trying to talk himself into it, huh?
Yeah, he
don't even
that's
believe
what I'm saying. That's what it is. Like, I get what he's doing. He's trying to make himself believe he can win. And so I guess it's human nature to do what he's doing.
Hey, you're not mad at him for it. But as soon as that fucking fight's over, you're going to know who the biggest fucking baddest dude in Boston is.
Words, and he's going to eat him with a bare-knuckle, right? Yeah, so...
I can't wait to see it. We'll be there in person.
Oh, awesome, man. I'm happy you guys are coming. It's going to be a fun night.
So if somebody were to say to you, hey, man, as a fighter, what are you a wrestler, grappler, boxer? How do you identify?
I mean, that's what everyone always says. But when I started learning this stuff, I started in an MMA gym. And I'm the first generation of a complete mixed martial artist. Like, when I got to the gym, the coach was a jiu-jitsu black belt. And then he would have like a MMA fighter that was a boxer teaching boxing. Then you have a Muay Thai guy teaching Muay Thai. I'm the first generation. Like if you look at the time frame of the evolution of UFC in the sport, I'm the first generation of mixed martial arts fighter. But if you ask what my specialty is jiu-jitsu. I'm a black belt. I'm a third degree black belt under Ricardo Borio, one of the greatest jiu-jitsu practitioners of all time in jiu-jitsu. And I have like over 15 submission wins. And I've grappled and competed with some of the best guys in just pure jiu-jitsu in the world, and I can compete with them. Now, the thing is a lot of these fighters, they don't take that as seriously. They think it's just kicking and punching, but you get to the ground, it's like throwing it's like taking a land animal or a lion and throwing them in the water with the sharks. Sharks are going to eat them up, and the same vice versa. If you take somebody that has no striking ability and a lot of wrestling and grappling, and you put them on the land, they can't eat with the tigers and the lions, but you throw them in the water, they can't swim with the sharks. So that's what a hybrid is somebody that can do both, and that's pretty much, I'm the first generation of that.
So will that help you with not having gloves? Some of the stuff you do on the ground? Yeah,
I think 100%. The grips and the chokes, I would say, my nickname before Boston Strong was the Boston Strangler because I would choke everybody out in Boston. But
that's how you give them to submit, would choke them out?
Yeah. And I mean, I go to a lot of like children's hospitals and charities events, so we made it Boston Strong, so it's a little bit more enticing.
Yeah, you probably don't want to be Boston Strangler there.
Killing people, but no, it's good. So that's what we did, but I have everybody knows my chokes are the best, and also my choke defense is the best in the world. You saw my last
I saw
fight.
that, dude.
A lot of people when I train with them, the Brazilians and stuff, they would be like, you have gills, like you can breathe underwater because get me in a choke, and you can't put me out.
All right, so last fight you had, let's talk about that. How long did I have? He had you in choke.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty. Looked like he had to shit.
Yeah.
It looked tight to me. I mean, from where I was sitting, was it tight? Was it pretty?
Yeah, it's just the difference. That's what I told you when I first met you. You said, "What's the difference of a UFC fighter and somebody not?" Like the guys, there's more talented guys not fighting in the UFC in the world that you don't see fighting in the UFC, 100%. But what they don't have is a heart, and heart is the one thing in fighting that in some other sports doesn't really exist. I mean, obviously you need heart in every sport, but fighting, it's the number one most important thing. It's not athleticism. It's not toughness. It's heart. Like if you have that heart and you have the ability to never quit, that doubles your chances of winning automatically, maybe more.
So what? So explain that. I got you in a choke.
Yeah.
Did he just get? Did he just couldn't understand why you didn't tap?
Yeah,
or he thought
I had two choices. I could say, all right, I could die and get hurt here. I could go to sleep and not wake up, or I could continue fighting and give myself the best chance to win this fight. And 99.9% of people get to that position and they say,
I'm out.
Quit. I'm out.
So how'd you get out of it? How'd you get out of it?
I fought. It was like a fight. You know, you hang on, you fucking dear life, and you fight it.
How long do you think he had you in that choke?
I don't know. I mean, it felt like an eternity, but
I bet.
sure it was probably, I don't know, like 5 to 10. I mean, you guys were there, so you'd know better.
Dude, it was longer than 10 seconds. I'll fucking tell you that.
It was.
Oh, fuck yeah, it was.
So that's what I'm saying. That 10 seconds to me is like 10 minutes. Like it's like.
But you can't breathe.
No, dude.
Yeah.
It's like you're underwater drowning. So if you're underwater drowning, you can just sink to the bottom and you can quit and fall asleep and it's over, or you can swim to the top.
So does he just, you just yanked on him, or he just couldn't hold on tight enough?
Well, that's the thing is the ability that I have and the technique also plays into factor of it. I know how to defend it, so I'm very confident in my defense in it. Like instead of just going here and going to sleep, I make a little wedge in between my head. Then I'm pushing his elbow away, giving myself just enough air to breathe. So I'll get a little sip of air. Then I'm like, oh, now his muscles are burning up. The lactic acid is building, and I know this is all computing in my head. Boom, boom. It's going in a circle, and by that time, like he's like giving his last squeeze. I'm like, this is it. This is all he got left.
So if you can survive that,
once I take the most of it, then the rest is. Then I know I'm good.
Then you got up and whacked him.
And I went up and just slapped his ass, bang, and I went in the gym, and it was good, man. And I got him, so I was really happy.
So you've had one hell, and you obviously had enough talent and enough heart, to be a UFC champion.
Yep.
But I'll hear people talk professionally about sports that right time, right play, like things happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've been really positive. I mean, listen, you've achieved it. There's very few people in the world that are UFC champion. I mean, but to even achieve the level you've had, but you've stayed. The guy in Mexico, had you won that fight?
Yeah, split decision loss.
But had you won it, that you sound like, sounds like you should have.
Yeah,
you may have been
100%
world champion. I mean,
100%.
Your next fight. So
for sure.
But yet, as the business goes, this guy moves here. It's international. This guy's here, and before you know it, you got enough fights, and then all of a sudden, I'm guessing it's a pretty quick game too. Like
no, it happens quick, man. You lose one fight in the UFC, they cut you. Like it's not like you watch the NFL, the NBA. These guys play tons of games. They have their season, and they have this build up. They win some, lose some. Like if you lose, it sets you back in the UFC automatically a year or two, and that's if they give you another opportunity.
Yeah.
If you lose 2 in a row, gone.
That's it.
So I always was able to win, lose, win, lose. Like I stayed there for 10 years. You know what I'm saying? I did what 1% of UFC fighters did. I fought in the UFC for 10 years. If you look how many guys have fought in the UFC and how many of these last that long, it's not a lot. Yeah. And, the one thing I didn't get to achieve was winning the UFC World Championship. You saw me win my World Championship outside of the UFC, which it's still, a valid World Championship. But, obviously everybody wants to win, the best of the best. Like it's big being in the NFL, winning the Super Bowl or winning the Canadian Football League. Everyone wants to win the big one. And that's what I shoot for. So I shoot for the stars. If you end up falling short a little bit, I'm still shooting for the top. You know what I'm saying? So,
what is something? I mean, you got to know Dana White. You get to know the organization. What is something that people have their perception of Dana White that don't know Dana White?
Yeah.
What is something that you would say, man, you'd be surprised about this as it pertains to Dana White? What is something that people don't know about Dana White?
Well, one thing that's good to know about Dana White is a man of his word. Like if he says he's going to do something, he does it. And he did that with me. I mean, I had a neck injury in the UFC that the doctor sat me down in a room and they told me that you're never going to fight again. Your fighting career is over. I was 32 years old.
Got it.
So this is 5-6 years ago. They told me that you're never going to fight again. Your career's over. And I was like, are you telling, he goes, it's improbable you'll ever fight again. And I said, is it improbable or impossible? Because those are two different things to me. If you're telling me it's improbable, he's like, less than a 1% chance, he said. I said, well, I'm a 1%er. I can do this, and I'm going to come back if, and the guy was like, well, I'll do what I can. I'll do the surgery, but it's very unlikely. And, you know, we wanted to get the best doctor because then the chances go up. Like if you get like, you know, the 10th best doctor in the world compared to the best doctor, the chances of you getting the best. And they didn't want to pay for the best doctor at first. They're like, no,
who's
we're not doing it. The
UFC?
The insurance, the UFC, they don't say they is
the
the insurance. Is I don't know what it is, but they would the people I was messaging with the UFC that are connected, and I got in touch with Dana, and he was able to connect me with the best doctor in the world. And I got the best doctor on the planet Earth, and they went and fixed my neck.
Covered with the insurance.
Covered the insurance. They paid for the whole thing. And my understanding, for me, you know, I went up to Dana after my surgery. I came back. I came back after 18 months of physical therapy. Came back, won the biggest fight of my career. Beat like the number 12 guy in the world, Manny Bermudez, in the Boston Garden. My comeback fight, first round, armbar submission. Got submission of the night, $50,000 bonus, and won the fight, and won the money from winning the fight. It was the biggest payday of my entire career. A featured bout on ESPN. When they first got the ESPN card, it was the most special day of my entire life, winning that fight. And I saw Dana after the fight when he gave me the bonus check. And I said, thank you for giving me, you know, my career back, because I feel like if I didn't go to that doctor, then I wouldn't have. And he said, Charles, no, you're welcome. You earned it. You're a warrior. So I always respect him. Like if he says he's going to do something, he does it.
You're not going to fight forever.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that. I think you're not slowing down.
I'm not. I mean, I feel like I'm on a 4-fight win streak. And
I get it. I ain't betting against you, and I think you'll fight for a very long time. What are your plans for you at some point in time in your life outside of fighting? One thing I love, and I think I told you about it before, is I love coaching. You know, I love teaching. I love teaching martial arts, and I love helping people. You know, currently I introduced you the other night. Went to the FAU game. He's a stud.
I met my buddy Devin, is a national champion wrestler. Kid's 22 years old. You know, he's struggling a little bit with some things, but we got him down here. He's doing the right thing. He's working. He's going to the gym, and we're training him to be a UFC fighter. We got my little brother Lucas. You know, he's training him to be a UFC fighter. He's the top #1 prospect in the world. And then we got from my foreign guy Daniel Marcos from Peru. They dropped this kid off. He was had a backpack. They literally dropped him off my house with a backpack. When
no English.
This kid's living at your house, no English.
You speak no Spanish.
I speak no Spanish. Dropped him off at my house. I'm like, can you train this kid? I'm like, hola, and he's like, I'm like, hey, what's up, man? I'm Charles. He's like, okay, and I was like, what? I'm like, you don't speak English? And his manager's like, I thought he did. I'm like, you're gonna. So I became best friends with him. He speaks English now. I speak enough Spanish. We get along. I've cornered him his first 5 UFC fights. He's 5-0 in the UFC, 16-0 professional, about to be the UFC world champion. The kid is living in my house. He's at my house right now, across the street. He's at my house. Yes, he'll be the UFC world champion. Daniel Marcos, the kid's incredible, superstar. He just needs a little bit more. The UFC just building him slowly because of his English. So they want to make sure that when he's a champion, he can communicate the way they want with the interviews and the media and stuff like that. But
good for you.
The kid's one of the best fighters in the planet, top 10 fighter in the world right now, and the planet Earth. Like, that's the thing. Is like people get confused. Like, oh, the UFC, like it's literally the best. It's the best fighters in the planet Earth, not just from the United States, not from Canada, not from Mexico, from Russia, Japan, Brazil, like everywhere.
Everywhere in the world, dude.
There's only
You're the baddest man in the world.
Yeah,
you win that.
Yeah. So it's cool. He's living. I just saw him before I came here. And he's like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "Going to a podcast." He's like, "Oh, see."
We gotta get him here to tell the story.
Yeah, dude. It's so cool, man.
No doubt about it.
It's a cool story, man. I never like to talk about like, oh, I helped this guy, because that's not what I do it for. But it's definitely cool for people to listen in and say, hey, man, like when you take a chance to help somebody, it can come back full circle, man.
100%.
Like, and maybe the story will be if I never win the UFC championship, if I train someone to win the UFC championship,
or multiple people.
Yeah, or multiple people. It might be even cooler. So I believe like God has a plan and there's a story.
Agreed.
And it's still being written. So I'm just here doing my thing.
No, you're a champion in every way, brother.
Yeah, thanks,
It's good to call you a friend. And the fight in Biloxi is when?
November 15th.
November 15th. Yep. If you're around and it's not sold out, you better get your ass there. Bare-knuckle.
Yep.
Going to see my man Charles there. teaching the guy who the king of Boston is.
Yeah, you already know.
Yeah, I already know. And he already knows too. He's
Yeah,
just
he
trying
already
to talk
knows
himself
too.
out of
Yeah,
it. So, but I love you. I appreciate you. Congrats on the baby.
Thank you, man.
I'm
I
happy
appreciate
for
you too.
y'all.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Appreciate y'all jumping on Pick Money Podcast. You want to find Charles Rosa? He's on Instagram. He's everywhere. Boston Strong, not the Boston Strangler or anything, but Boston Strong. And just an unbelievable person, unbelievable family, just great, great people, salt of the earth kind of people. And I'm glad you're having a kid because good people having kids is good for society. So appreciate y'all. Like, subscribe, share, follow him, get to the fight. We'll talk to y'all soon.